Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope y'all are having a great day. As you saw in that first little clip, we're going to be talking about the aerial class today, because I've been playing the aerial a lot more lately and I've been having a ton of fun. So I decided to make a guide on the class. We'll be covering the different variations of the class, abilities, star card setups, along with some general tips and tricks to use as the mobile, high-flying aerial. So let's get straight into it, starting with the abilities. All of the aerials have the same 3 abilities, 2 of which are based on the jetpack, which is the main attraction of the class. The left ability sends you flying vertically in the air, with some control of which direction you wish to go in. The right ability sends you horizontally in any direction. These 2 abilities, combined with the dash, makes you the most mobile character in the game. Be careful with the jetpack abilities though, as a lot of people will target you as you're in midair. Also, you can get caught on obstacles and terrain, which will stop you instantly. You can't cancel the ability, so you'll just be a sitting duck. The final, middle ability is some form of a rocket launcher. It has a very small blast radius, but it can one-hit kill a normal trooper class on a direct hit. Make sure you're not too close to the target when firing the rocket, as you can damage yourself. The ability also has a very long base cooldown, so make sure you keep that in mind. Now that we've gotten through the basics of the abilities, let's move on to the different variations of the class. Although they may have the same abilities, each faction's aerial is unique, with different weapons, dash lengths, and stats. Starting with the Clone Wars era, we have the Galactic Republic's Jet Trooper. The Jet Trooper has 200 base health and wields the DC-17 blaster pistol. The DC-17 is a very powerful semi-auto weapon, arguably the strongest of the aerial class. It has high damage and can fire as fast as you pull the trigger. This blaster is great at all ranges, and headshots with it are deadly. Moving on to the Separatist's B-2RP rocket droid, the most unique of all the aerials. It has 300 health, compared to the 200 HP the other aerials have. It wields the twin wrist blaster, which is quite similar to the DC-17, except it's full auto, and does slightly less damage. The high base health, combined with the powerful blaster, means that you can win a load of 1v1 engagements. To balance this, the rocket droid has a very small dash compared to the other aerials. It's almost non-existent. The rocket droid is still a powerful reinforcement nonetheless. Now on to the Galactic Civil War era. We have the Rebel Rocket Jumper. It has 200 health and uses a stronger variation of the Assault's 8280 blaster rifle. This weapon is capable of defeating enemies in just a few bursts. If all 3 shots hit the head, it only requires 1 pull of the trigger, but that is the best case scenario. Either way, this weapon is insanely powerful, and I personally really like it, as I do with the Assault's A280. The Rebel also seems to have one of the longer dashes of the aerial class. Next up we have the Imperial Rocket Trooper, which has 200 health and uses the RT-97C heavy blaster. The heavy blaster can sustain fire for a long period of time, before needing to cool down. The cooling period itself is long to balance the amount of fire you can put out. The high fire rate means that you can outgun most enemies at close range, but it falls off very quickly. In my opinion, this is the worst of all the aerials. It is down to personal preference and playstyle of course, but in my honest opinion, the RT-97C is just too useless at anything other than close range, which doesn't fit the aerial class's playstyle. In the sequel era, we have the Resistance Rocket Jumper. The Rocket Jumper has 200 health and wields a modified EL-16 HFE. The EL-16 has a slow fire rate, but it does a ton of damage, which means that it is devastating at longer ranges, but at close range you have to be accurate to defeat your enemies. Although better than the Imperial Rocket Trooper, I still personally do not like the Resistance Rocket Jumper that much. I just can't aim with the EL-16 that well, but I know some of you can, so you may like the class. Last but not least, we have the First Order Rocket Trooper, which again has 200 HP, and uses a modified SE-44C, which is a high fire rate automatic blaster pistol, which is very effective at close range. The damage drops off harshly, but it is not as bad as the RT-97C, so it is still a good choice. I recommend you try out all of the aerials and see what you like, and what fits your playstyle. Also, if you want more advanced stats on each class, I recommend checking out the Battlefront wiki. It is a great resource and I'll link it in the description below. Anyways, let's move on to the star cards that I recommend. There are only 5 star cards for the aerial class, and they're all viable, but there are 3 that I recommend the most. The first is the aerial training card, which at the max level gives you 50 health upon defeating an enemy. This is great for survivability in the middle of a battle, and it can help you take down multiple enemies. The next card is Battle Hardened, which gives you 20% increased max health. This also greatly helps with your survivability. It may not be necessary for the B2 RP rocket droid, but I'm too lazy to switch out the card and I still think it really helps. Finally, we have the improved jetpack card, which, at max, drastically reduces your jetpack abilities cooldowns by 4 seconds. This is a really great card because the jetpack is the most important thing about the class, and having them more available is insanely helpful. The 2 cards I didn't mention, the improved rocket launcher, which reduces the launcher abilities cooldown, and Survivalist, which reduces the health regeneration delay, are still really good. I just didn't want to replace any of the 3 cards that I currently have. I recommend that you mix and match all of the cards and try different builds to find the best one that suits you. But my build is a great place to start. Finally, I have some general tips and tricks for the aerial class that I haven't already covered in the video. First of all, try and use your jetpack to get up to a higher vantage point to spot and kill your enemies. Be careful though, because a lot of enemies will see you and target you. Also, always flank as the aerial. Use your jetpack abilities and try to get behind the unsuspecting enemies. Don't be afraid to go out of bounds for a little bit as long as you don't stay there for more than 10 seconds and die. The aerial is great at taking out vehicles, so use your jetpack to get behind them and use your rocket to shoot them in their weak spot. This will do a ton of damage, and if they aren't already destroyed, you or your teammates will be able to finish them off. Finally, remember to always stay on the move. Pop in and out of battle, use your dash and jetpack to become a more difficult target to hit. As you play more as the class, you'll only get better. So that's it for the guide. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did and want to see more, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Leave a comment telling me what you guys want to see next, and also leave your own aerial class tips below. I hope you all have a great day, and peace!